The weekly armchair kickoff is rebranding and expanding. We are now the weekly armchair sports talk. It's going to be your home for sports content for the fans and by the fans. More sports, more guests and more talk, covering all aspects of football, WWE, basketball, MMA and much, much more. That's the weekly armchair sports talk, coming soon.
The Weekly Armchair Sports Talk podcast. This is United Show. This is Devil's Advocate, and today it's our Manchester United versus Leicester preview in the Premier League. Manchester United going to the King Power Stadium with their unbeaten record, hanging on the hopes of going to Leicester City this weekend. So, as always, joined by my co-host, Mr. Reece Russell, here today, and we are joined also by Brad, our Leicester fan from Leicester Till I Die YouTube channel. So, lot to discuss this week in terms of Manchester United, also in terms of Leicester, and we're going to discuss a bit about some of our players out on the international break as well. And so, as always, guys, this is premiering on YouTube. Do smash the like in the video, hit that subscribe button, get your comments in below, let us know what you're thinking about this game this weekend. First of all, Reece, I'm going to crack straight into it. Obviously, our players are back from international break now. A lot of them have kind of had a productive, for the most part, a productive international break. Cristiano getting on the score sheet again over the international break. Apparently, he's 36 years of age and finished. Don't see that myself, but it is what it is. Bruno getting on the score sheet. Obviously, our French players, Varane, we'll touch on in a minute. Pogba and Martial getting trophies. On the flip side, Jadon Sancho getting some well-deserved game time, I suppose, with England as well in this international break. I know coming into this international break, we had a lot of apprehension. We were very kind of, I suppose, down in the dumps because of that Everton result. But how are you feeling now, considering all things considered, how our players have played during the international break? And obviously coming into a high-intensity game against Leicester away to King Power. Do you think our players' performances during the international break can help stand us in good stead kind of coming into tomorrow's game?
I would say so. It's good to have a little bit of a break now and then from club football. If you're not in the best of form yourself for your club, it gives you just a bit of a chance to reset, play a different style, and just get a feel of things. And not to mention, we've also had the Scotland wins as well. Played better than England. That's all I'm going to say. In 2 games, Scotland played better than what England did, but that's for another day. But mind you, we don't even play each other anyway, but last time we played, we didn't lose either. But anyway, I look at it and I'm thinking it's great in terms of it was an escape. I think the international break was the right time for an escape. We weren't in the best of results, best of form. That was pre-break. Now we see what happens after the break, and I think a decent opponent in Leicester, who haven't had a particularly good start to the season either. They've been particularly, to say it nicely, woeful by expectation. We'll see where they're going to play in terms of the response. Obviously, there's numerous changes going on there. There's the Rodgers link as well, which we'll come into later on. They'll be looking at touch and go as well. So I think for us, it's equally important to get a quick result and get it over and done with, but also for Leicester to say, well, actually, we're not done yet, and if these links are going to happen with Rodgers, then prove a point that he's going somewhere, because at the moment, he's still under contract, and now it's a good opportunity for him to say, well, I've had bad results, let's turn it around. But for us, it's a matter of overall some good performances. It's good to see a few players, just remind them why they do have a fair bit to do in terms of improving. But other than that, it's international football, really, and it's a break, but on the whole, I'm just happy how well they did equally.
Yeah, definitely myself. Especially if I look at Pogba's performance in midfield the other night, again, kind of highlights our feelings about get a fucking defensive midfield player. That's literally, again, watching that performance against Spain the other night in Nations League, you're thinking Tchouaméni's beside him. Another night it's Kante or whatever. And then he has to come back to United and play against play with either Fred and McTominay beside him in midfield. You can see why, his frustration is there. But like I look at Jaden, I think him getting game time for England was great to see. Because look, I think he's had his own struggles since he's come to the club, injury, illness, and then Ollie's kind of chopped and changed him out of the team. So it's kind of good to see him get game time. Obviously, Jesse as well. Good to see him kind of get minutes as well. He's been a very vital player since the start of the season in terms of impact for us. But yeah, look, I'm happy to see some of our players perform in the international break. I was hoping now when they come back in the Man United shirt that can be the same thing and all these players can be singing off the same hymn sheet, because starting this weekend we have a horrific run of games, to put it lightly, coming up. Like, and that's in domestically and in Europe. Like, there's no easy game between now and the end of November.
No.
So this is where it's crunch time, because realistically, if you're looking at United's run of games from the start of the season till now, the expectation is we'd be in a better position to have more points than we should have. And we've dropped points in games where we probably shouldn't have dropped them. And now we're playing all the best teams in the league coming up next, starting with Leicester. So this is where we do need to click. There's no ifs, buts, or maybes. There's no, we're trying to play the United way, United DNA, all that crap. There's none of that anymore. We just have to go out and put out a performance and win games of football.
There's no excuse anymore.
There's no excuse. This 6 weeks is season defining. And for like we were talking start of the season, we're talking about challenging title, or like our expectation was at least be there for the run-in at the end of the season, because that has to be the next sign of progress. You can't finish third, second, and then not be there the season after.
Exactly.
When you bring in Varane, Sancho, Cristiano Ronaldo, like you have to improve on the season before.
Yeah, there's no like line about it.
And this is not a slight on the manager. This is not a slight on anybody before anyone takes this out of context and says, oh, these two lads are screaming Ollie out or whatever. No, we're not. But what we're saying is, you bring in these players, you have to improve the next season. And starting tomorrow, we could be 30 games unbeaten away from home against a very good team, might I add, like going to Leicester. This is, regardless of their form, like I know me and Brad were speaking off camera before the start of this show, and we said, like, I said I'm shitting it, Brad said he's shitting it, but like, you look at this game, the last time we went to the King Power, Leicester played us off the park in the FA Cup. They played us off the park. Tielemans and Didi, like, they destroyed us. Now, mind you, it was Donny van de Beek and I don't know who else was in midfield that day, Fred and someone else. Luckily I know Reece is going to hate me for saying this, but luckily Fred isn't playing tomorrow. So, like,
that's true.
Yeah, like, luckily Fred isn't playing tomorrow, so we've no Fred tax tomorrow. But we do need to put on performance. We do need to be consistent over 90 minutes, because Leicester will be high intensity with these Rodgers links coming out. Like, Leicester are going to want to put on performance, because they, like, for Leicester standards, they aren't where they should be. Leicester should be fighting for that top four. Like, that's where they should be. They're a very good football inside, and Brendan Rodgers is a fantastic manager. So for me, I'm thinking, right, this is where Leicester need to be, and Man United are under serious pressure coming into this period.
Yeah.
But Brad, we're going to flip the lid to your club at the moment. We're talking about Leicester. Obviously, look, you're 13th in the league at the moment. By your standards, that's not where you want to be. Just talk to us about the start of your season. How are you feeling about your start? Obviously, look, you've had Europe in between that as well. Do you maybe think you're running Europe and this kind of start is kind of I suppose intertwined with each other, and you're still finding your feet at the moment?
It's a tough one to judge. Obviously, the last few seasons as a Leicester fan have been some of, if not the best, you're ever going to experience as a football fan of any club. We've won the Premier League, we won the FA Cup. We continue to add silverware, regardless of what you think of it as a standard. We won the Community Shield as well. So that's 3 trophies that Leicester have won, which other clubs would bite your hand off for. I don't like the talk that a lot of people are almost accepting the fact that maybe Leicester have found their balance out, sort of thing. I don't like that, and I don't get that, because there's no way that us as a club has progressed the way it's progressed just to suddenly go, okay, well, actually, sorry, we were punching above our weight, finishing 5th and getting European football and winning silverware. We'll go back to where we belong, down at we're not even in the top half of the Premiership at the moment, but finishing in around the 9th position under like we had under the years under Puel. The funny thing is, when I looked at the fixture lists, and probably like you guys, you expected to get to this game with the same intensity and importance behind it, but to be in a far better position.
Yeah.
Like you said there, I think Leicester fans were probably expecting Leicester to be at worst in the top 6. Manchester United fans were probably expecting to be around the top and performing better than what you are, beating teams that you should be beating or feel that you should be beating. And we both come into this game before an international break. Probably came at the right time, funny enough, for Leicester and Manchester United, in the sense that he gave them a chance to regroup, get their heads, go away with their respective countries, and maybe hopefully find a bit of form whilst out on the pitch. That this game probably has more at stake in it than it has done before, in the sense that both have a very difficult patch of games to come after this, and need to make up for the shortcomings in previous fixtures where we didn't pick up the points, we didn't get the results that we wanted, and aren't in a position. And we're into the point of the season now where we lose to Manchester United at the weekend, and the worry starts to kick in at Leicester. I think it kicks in. I think we have to start to worry, because it's not a complete reset. It'll be, I think, our 5th game without a win in all competitions. And this club has the players they brought in and the experience and the manager to not be battling it at the 13th in the Premiership. It should at least be, I would say, worst case scenario, we should be 8th right now, and saying we've had a bit of a bad start, but we're still in and around the mix. To be 13th, we have to correct it, and they need to turn up tomorrow. Otherwise, the only rumours you'll get of Rodgers will be him losing his job at Leicester and not going to Barcelona or Real Madrid or Newcastle or Man United or England, or because our manager's got a lot on his plate with all these links to other managers' jobs. He's managing about 10 clubs, so it's not helping.
Touch on that, Brad, because obviously, look, links have come out in these last few weeks of Newcastle United. Obviously, they've had their takeover, and look, we will have a podcast on that coming up soon with Chris and also Joe Martin, the Newcastle fan as well. They will be coming on discussing that takeover on our show very soon, just to give that plug. But that takeover is obviously after happening. Brendan Rodgers went from 66-1 to 7-2 favourite to take over at Newcastle. Obviously, there's always links with Manchester United's manager moving on. That's always the case. Since Solskjaer's got the permanent job, he's been heavily linked to United recently as well. And reports come out this week then that he's staying at Leicester. He's going to reject the Newcastle job because he's one eye on being Pep's successor at Manchester City. Do you think, like, at the moment, that Brendan is under serious pressure now because of this run of games and all these consistent links that are happening with the Newcastles, the Man Uniteds, and Man Cities?
I suppose he is. I suppose in any place, if you're linked with these jobs that are classed as higher prestige jobs than the one you're currently in, there's always going to be pressures on you to keep performing. It's just natural in any circumstances. What makes me laugh is since we've had Brendan as our manager, he wasn't even in the job 6 months and he was being linked away. Since then, I cannot honestly remember a week where he wasn't linked with a job. Like I said, no kidding, I've even seen a link today that linked him to the England job to replace Southgate.
And Southgate's getting a new contract, isn't he?
Yeah. And this is what I mean. And what makes me laugh is I am more to the back end of last season. And I know the argument was whether Brendan Rodgers is just a good manager or a great manager. A lot of people were saying, well, if he doesn't win the FA Cup, but gets top 4, or he's a great manager, but wouldn't accept to be won the FA Cup but didn't get top 4. He wasn't a great manager. I don't understand how people like ourselves can sit here and go, oh, Rodgers isn't a brilliant manager. He's a good manager, but he's not up there in the top echelons of manager conversations, yet he's linked with every job under the sun. Like you said, he instantly went to the favourite of the Newcastle job. He's been linked several times with the Spurs job. So the fact that his buyout clause was what put Spurs off in the end. And
to be fair, Leicester are a more attractive proposition at this moment in time than Spurs anyway. They're in trouble.
And Arsenal.
But money does talk, doesn't it? Eventually, it doesn't matter how good you are. I mean, there's a reason. I mean, there's a smart manager. If you look actually at his career as a manager, in his youth days when his career got brought abruptly to an end, we've seen a lot of players that just disappear from the game at that age. But he went overseas. He went to Spain to do coaching out there with youth systems. So he knows his stuff. He knows how to get things. And he probably won't be for the money situation to a degree. But I think if you said to him, look, come manage this club. This is the plan. This is the ambition. Because that's how Leicester got him. Leicester nearly got him a year before, I believe, we originally were looking at him. I think before we hired Puel. And he obviously said, look, come to me next year because I've got a job to do at Celtic. Mm-hmm. Now, will he do what Martin O'Neill did? Any Leicester fan out there should know who Martin O'Neill is and what he did at Leicester. Is he did similarly with Leeds. Leeds approached Leicester. Leicester said, look, we don't want to let you go. And he went, well, I still feel I've got a job to do here. So if you don't want to let me go, I'm happy to stay. The time came when Celtic came in for him and he went, look, I've done all I can here. I want to speak to Celtic, and Leicester were grateful that he'd been faithful to them and let him go. I think that's how Brendan, maybe without thinking about it too much, wants the situation to go, where he sees this year through. And maybe then if he gets Leicester up back into Europe and they finish in the European position and we have a good cup run again or success in some form, he then might say, okay, I've done all I can. It's somebody else to take over the torch about that Newcastle job or about that Pep Guardiola sanction. Because I don't think he would take over at Manchester City. I don't think that's sort of stepping stone for him. I think he will look at Newcastle as maybe another Leicester, in a sense that, yes, they've got the richest club in the world. We know that, but we also know, because we've got brain cell, that Haaland isn't going to join them in January. Kane isn't going to join them in January. All these players are linking with for it must be the easiest job being a journalist right now, to just throw a name and say Newcastle are going to buy him in January. He knows it's still a project. It's going to take investment. It's going to take time. You can't just go around to Mbappe and go, come on then, we're 19th in the Premiership, come and join us. He knows he's going to have to get these players that are world class.
It's going to be like the Lingards, the Tarkovskis, the Martials, players like this who aren't getting game time at the clubs. Well, Tarkovsky's a starter, but it's going to be players like that who they're going to bring in to keep them up. And then that's when once they get kept up and cemented, then that's when the clear out happens.
Yeah, and that's when I think Brendan might make that move if it's going to be Newcastle. But you do say there's pressure on him. There is pressure on him. If look, Leicester, any football fan puts more pressure on the manager than anybody, don't they? When the results are going bad and it's all going wrong, and I'm sure you guys, when Ollie was dragging you down the table, were sick of it and wanted a replacement, or talking about the idea of what needs to change. And obviously, every fan club, no matter how well they are, has a small section of fans that always say, "Oh, get the manager out. Never wanted him anyway." Talking out their arse, as people do. And I don't think Brendan Rodgers' job is in trouble. And I wouldn't say if we got beat by you 2 or 3-0, I'd suddenly be going Brendan out. But I feel the pressure doubles when the limelight's on you. The limelight was on him at Liverpool, and we all know what happened there. And this is now Brendan's resolve. If he can come out of this glowing over the next 3 or 4 games, it's going to just benefit everybody. It's going to benefit Leicester because the results will get better. The position will improve. It'll improve him. He'll get past that mental barrier that I think he's genuinely suffered with in the Premiership. In terms of when the focus is on him, he kind of loses his nerve a bit. And then, because we all know that Brendan's not going to be here for 10, 15 years, keeping Leicester in Europe or fighting top 10 or whatever. He's not going to be here too much longer, in my opinion. I gave him 3 to 4 seasons, and I think with the way things are moving in the footballing world, this could be Brendan's last season, because I don't think he'd want to ruin the murmurs and talk about him by staying past this season and then it all going wrong because the players get that feeling in the sense that he's going to leave or wants to leave or he's got one eye on another job. So he's just got to get it right, and he needs to prove itself because otherwise, in 6 months' time, he'll be sat at home asking Rotherham if they want a manager because it's all gone to pot. Suddenly, people
It gives
approve
Leicester
right
time as well. It gives Leicester time to thoroughly prepare, and that's something they're good at. Is they are good at preparing for who comes in next. The only thing is, though, is when you're going to bring it back, just like 5 minutes in terms of, is he a good manager? Is he a brilliant manager? Is he a great manager? Keane knows my opinion of Brendan Rodgers. Like me and you have spoken numerous times before, Brad. I don't think highly of Brendan Rodgers as the best in the world. I wouldn't even I wouldn't even put him in the top 5. But one thing I would say is I have got respect for what he does. But in terms of like links to Man United, he wouldn't be my choice. But then again, I wouldn't dismiss him from it because he's good at what he does. But he wouldn't be the number one option for me if we were to replace him. He's not top of the
pile for everybody, is he? He's not.
But he's in there. But he's in at least that top 5 pile of managers at least United should look at. Maybe like 4th or 5th on the list.
If you look at Reece, if you look at the managers,
I'm looking at him, but like I'm obviously excluding the Liverpool links. So obviously that's a shithole, and I'm not even going to go there. But I'm still looking at what he's done elsewhere, and I'm thinking he at least knows how to coach players. He knows how to work with players that are not particularly great, but he at least gives them a sense of, well, I'm going to work with you. I'm going to give you a chance to improve, and if it doesn't work, then I'll help you move on. At least he does that. But would I have him as like my number 1 or number 2? Maybe not. Like not my choice. But there's people that dismiss achievements, and I'm like, don't, because he's done great things in football. I mean, everyone knows my Scottish football opinion. I absolutely detest Celtic, but he set a record with Celtic. He 68, 69 games unbeaten or something. That's a world record. He's done that. No one else has ever done that. Like, he deserves that respect. But I think he's in that bracket of very good to great. I think he's in that bracket. Everyone says he's a good manager is talking out their arse. I think he's very good upwards because he is capable of it. He's just had the unfortunate of when he's managed at Leicester the past 2 years.
Burnout.
And that's it. Burnout, exactly. When it gets to April, or even when he was at Liverpool, that team collapsed. Right at April, they collapsed. You saw it against Chelsea. If he hadn't been stupid in that game, he may have won them the league. If he hadn't got it wrong. Leicester, they would have finished top 4 if he had just managed these players in that last couple of games. But he had to go for it because he had no other options. So I think people take his achievements and they discredit it too much. And I'm like, he doesn't deserve it. But I think he deserves an opportunity to say, well, if he is going to take Leicester as far as he can go, then at least he'll come out and admit it. He's not going to shy away from it, but I don't think he's going to get the sack. But I do agree with Brad in terms of Leicester will prepare, but I do think this is last season. I think come the end of the season, Brendan is gone. I think he will move on, but he won't get sacked. I think he'll leave by mutual consent because the owner of Leicester is absolutely brilliant. I think he would be willing to accept Rodgers moving on because he'll find somebody like that. He'll find somebody that's adequate enough on that level who goes, I know someone who does similar work, I'll get him in. And that'll make a lot of sense for Leicester.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you look at the situation, like you mentioned a minute ago, just like in terms of if we were looking, let's say Ollie decided to move on at the end of the season and Ollie said, look, I've taken you as far as I can come. I want to step down for whatever reason. He'd be in my top 3. He's in my top 3 managers who I'd want at United. Now, obviously, my other 2 at the moment, one of them's already at a football club, and one, we all know who that guy is, the nice, shiny, bald-headed man from France. But, I think, well, actually, 2 of the guys who I want as Ollie's successor are bald, Ten Hag and Zidane. Like, they'd be my 2 who I'd love to come in and succeed Ollie when he does step down eventually.
2 men are bald. 2 men are bald, the exact same 2. 2 of them are German. 2 of them are German. No surprise, it's me. And the other one, funny enough, is Rodgers. He's in that top 5, but he is not. Yeah. He's not in my top 3. But I will not put him below 5th because I think he is worthy enough to be in a top 5 consideration for United. He is that good. It's just disgusting that he managed Liverpool. That's the only disgust.
Yeah, but look, fuck them anyway.
Exactly.
That's the best way I can put it. It's
But
best to
I'll say this: if Leicester do sack Rodgers in this upcoming run, if they do sack him, that's the worst thing they can do, because I don't think there's any manager right now, and I don't mean this in a disrespect to any manager in world football. I'm not saying that in any manner. What I'm saying is, if they were to sack him in this upcoming run, because say Leicester got like 2 points from their next 6 games, which I know is an absolute shit show after us. If they were to sack him based on, like, say, 2 points, they will never get anybody that will actually credit getting them to a safe position. I think Leicester would be in deep trouble. You've got to stick with Rodgers till the end of the season. Give him some money in January, because the one thing he's not managed to have yet is a solid defence. They have not settled yet. So they're going to need that, and they need to get I don't know what's happening, but they need to get Patson Daka into the team. He's got the pace and he's capable of finishing a ball. Put him in the starting 11.
Yeah,
there's a problem with that. We've got a 34-year-old that's scoring goals. I think there was a lot of Leicester fans, myself included, that maybe felt last season, especially when Jamie Vardy went on that barren run, that maybe this was going to be the season that we saw less and less of Jamie Vardy. Doesn't he like to keep proving people wrong? Joint top goal scorer in the Premier League thus far. And to be fair, I did come out in defence of Vardy and said he actually goes on that run of barren runs of games his entire career. He's done it every season at Leicester. He goes a good 7 to 10 games where he doesn't score but still gets goal involvement.
Yeah.
So that's the problem as well. We've got Ndidi out injured, so I assume the one thing that I do like about it is, even though these players might be fans are questioning and neutrals are questioning, why are Leicester not playing the Dakas and the Samores? Well, we've got an injury to Ndidi. Samore is going to comfortably sit in that position because he has done when he's played. We also lose Ndidi for the African Cup of Nations. Is that this year as well? So a big name that last season, with the greatest respects to Chowdhury and Mendy, I would have been a little bit more concerned about not having Ndidi for a month and a half.
Yeah,
I think that's the thing. We've also got James Justin coming back, who was out. He's back in training. I saw it about 2 or 3 weeks ago. It was saying he was 4 to 6 weeks away. Again, I'm not sure if that's from training or up to full fitness to start being included in the matchday squad. Either way, it's a very good sign to know that he's come back a little bit earlier than expected, because he was expected to be mid-November.
How close is
Soyuncu, don't no, not with Soyuncu at the moment. I really hope he's got his mentality sorted.
Is it that bad for him? Yeah,
he's one of them that needs the command of Johnny Evans, and I'd say the same about Vestergaard. I think they're no nonsense defenders. That the way they defend matches how they look. They're a bit rugged. They're a bit oafish in terms of looks, especially Vestergaard. But they'll nail a defender. They'll get the ball. They'll run at somebody and they'll make a pass to the midfield. They're not afraid to get a tackle in. But a lot of times, Soyuncu's biggest problem was he'd step out too quickly. And the biggest example, I think, was in the FA Cup. If you go back and watch that, you'll see him step out to Timo Werner. It's a good job Timo Werner is useless in the Premiership. Because if he wasn't, he would have left a space for a chance. But with Evans alongside him, he's a completely different defender. Mm-hmm. So that's something that really needs to happen, because with the loss of Fofana, you don't have that bloke who, I mean, Jesus Christ, I've seen Fofana last season make some runs. You could play him as a centre forward, and I think he'd beat most people in a foot race. He's like the road runner. At least with Fofana, you've got that ability to his recovery rate is so well, and with him not in the squad this season, that was detrimental, I think, to Rodgers' plans to have a Fofana in there. So at least then Evans didn't play throughout August and September and was allowed to completely recover. That then Fofana could take a break, or Soyuncu could take that break, and Evans could come back into the team slowly. That horror tackle in a friendly, may I remind you, against Villarreal, completely threw that out of sync. And I think for the way Leicester do their business, we got the best of the market. I know we're getting laughed at a bit, and us Leicester fans right now are feeling a bit red-faced. But Vestergaard is not a waste of 15 million.
He's a good
He's
player.
probably shown us what 15 million gets you in this field. Let's face it, with the prices of things, we paid 15 million for him. What were we expecting? We weren't expecting a Johnny Evans. He's conceded 18 goals against Leicester and Man U, for God's sake. And we were really expecting him to do a solid job. No. Unfortunately, he came in to be that when I need to rotate, I'm going to play better than a player.
He was decent. He was decent at Southampton as well. I know Southampton aren't the best of the bunch as well, but they're a decent team. I enjoy watching Southampton. Vestergaard was decent beside Bednarak. Like, he had that leadership, and Bednarak's the exact same as Johnny Evans. Like, I completely agree. I was just checking next. I just wanted to double check nationalities. AFCON, you're not just losing Ndidi. You're losing Nyacho, and you're losing Patson Daka, because Daka's from Zambia, and obviously Nyacho's also Nigerian. So there's 2 Nigerians you lose, and I think that's 3 year first team squads. You're going to be depleted in January, but luckily that's months away. But now is the time where you've got that build up to do.
Yeah, and I think that's where maybe Brandon's been a bit hesitant to go with the 2 up front, because if we get a bit too comfortable with the 2 up front, and like you say, we lose our 2 strikers in Daka and Iheanacho, we have to then resort back to playing the 1 up front. And the funniest thing about football is we probably got to a point, and I said this, where this formation, where we were playing Vardy up front on his own, playing the 3 to 5 in midfield, probably got a bit tired and tested. You know, for 2 seasons dead straight, that's what Brendan's 2.5 seasons dead straight. That's what Brendan's done. And I think we've seen with the results and the performances, the teams have cottoned on and figured out how to stop it. So Brendan's reverted to that 2 up front that he kind of was forced into when Harvey Barnes suffered that injury last season. And he doesn't want to kind of put all his eggs in one basket. And it's just waiting for the scales to balance out for Leicester. Because I do feel that when it clicks, this is going to feel like a million miles away come December. I'm hoping that, this will feel like a distant memory, the start to the season. But Brendan's not silly. He will have that in mind. And I think you see that. I mean, I watch our training videos as well, so I see it play out as well, that they obviously operate 2 systems. So I feel that this season, even though the results aren't going well, he's trying to mentally prepare them for any scenario. So what happens if we lose a Harvey Barnes? Well, this is what we'll do. What happens when Iheanacho and Ndidi and Daka go on international? Well, this is how we'll deal with that. You guys will do this job. And that's where I think we'll see all the workings of the last couple of weeks. Because, like I said, up until that injury to Fofana and JJ and that, and Harvey Barnes, Leicester had a set system. And now they've only probably over the last 6 to 8 weeks had to work on it. And so this will be an interesting period for Leicester. I think you might just start to see, hopefully starting Saturday, the turning point for Leicester season.
After Saturday, we'll do nicely. But
after Saturday,
I'll tell you what, we'll share the points then. We'll share the points. Can we do that?
Only if we're high on Jack Daniels.
I will drink to that, mate.
I'll say this though. I'll say this now. I still think you will finish 7th by. I think you'll actually be clearing 7th by April. I actually think you'd have long caught the top 6 by then. Top 6, top 7. I think you'll actually be back in there by then. I think you will.
It is a possibility, especially if Leicester click. Definitely 100%. And look, I think this period now of the January, they do need to get as much points as they can, because obviously the African Cup nations starting, a couple of their key players will be missing. It's imperative for Rodgers to have that many points going into it. And then obviously, as Brad said as well, they have their system worked on, so they can obviously make adjustments, Joe, when these players do go out on international duty in January.
More chance of clicking than Leeds United.
Yeah. No. But talk about defensive injuries, Reece. Obviously, Harry Maguire and Raphael Varane both out this weekend for the Leicester game, and possibly for Liverpool as well. Obviously, Eric Bailly and Lindelof is going to be the partnership. Well, it could be the partnership. There's talk of Jones maybe thrown into a back 3 tomorrow. That could happen. But let's
do that. Please do that.
Put that aside, right? Put that aside for a moment. Eric Bailly, obviously, against Jamie Vardy, does have a very good record. Every time they play against each other, Joe Bailly seems to always kind of step up his game and handles Vardy very well. On the flip side, Lindelof in the last couple of games, to be fair to him, I'm not his biggest fan, but he has played quite well. in the kind of last couple of games. Looking at Leicester tomorrow, they obviously do have their threats up front with their front three, or front two, whatever they do go with. Does that centre-back partnership give you confidence into tomorrow's game? Or is it the case it depend on who plays in front of him tomorrow? Because obviously Fred is out of the equation tomorrow, which I think apart from you, I think, and a few others, a lot of us are delighted.
I just like the guy.
Yeah, you just like the guy. But
I just like him. He's not the best we've got, but at least he puts a shift in. But we can do better.
Yeah,
we can do better.
If you're looking at, let's say we're playing Bailly and Lindelof tomorrow, do you think you have confidence in that partnership tomorrow, or is it a case that it depends who plays in front of him? Because Leicester will press. We all know Leicester do have a good press. They are an intense team who do have high intensity. For you, does it depend on who plays there tomorrow in terms of that partnership working at centre-back tomorrow?
I think it's a mixture of both, in all fairness. I think it depends on how they settle into the game and as a defensive partnership, because they haven't played with each other for quite a while. And the circumstance that is going to come down to the midfield, because that seems to be our Achilles heel. Has always been the midfield partnership. We just never seem to be consistent, and then it's always this is always this one, or it's always that one, or it's one player stepping out and making mistakes, or it's the other person can't defend for Toffee, and it's always the same issues, or it's because we're not playing Pogba in the midfield, or it's because we're not playing Matic, or can we just shut the fuck up? Like, simple as that. Like, it's always the same issues, and I think even you'll agree now, it's getting tiresome. Like, it is getting absolutely tiresome. I'm sick and tired of people moaning about midfield. Like, I'm sick of it. Like, we've got our issues, we'll address it, but like, there's no need to constantly. But it's becoming to the point of we really need to think, okay, what is our best partnership? What is the best to go with? Do we decide once and for all tomorrow, is it better that we don't play a back four and we play a back three against Leicester? Would it be wiser? To be honest, I think it is. I think tomorrow we do actually play two up top. I think we go back three. I know it sounds a little bit crazy, but I don't think we have much of a choice. We don't have reliable centre-backs at the moment because, all due respect to Lindelof, who is a player I like, Bailly as well. Lindelof at times, you look like, just like Fred, gets bullied easily and it's not great, but at least he's good at recovery. He's good carrying the ball. Bailly is quick, but he's reckless as hell. At times you just can't trust that, but he is good against Vardy, so he knows how to put him in his place. Wan-Bissaka's not been particularly great lately at right back. He's been quite concerning to watch, and both of us will admit, and even Brad as well, because he's said numerous times to me he's a fan of Wan-Bissaka, even though he still rips them to pieces sometimes. It's brilliant to listen to hear Brad rip him. We still have that respect for Wan-Bissaka, but it is worrying when he is the best defensive right back in the country and he is being at times exposed for his position. You're like, that really needs to be ironed out. Luke Shaw, he's had a bit of a hit and a miss. I think maybe putting him in a back three might give him just a little bit of a different job to do tomorrow, and I think it would give him a different state of mind. But it just depends really. I think tomorrow your best bet is going back three, not back four. I would rather play back three tomorrow personally.
Oh, please go back three. Please
back
go
three.
back.
Back three, we beat you comfortably.
No, that all depends on our injury situation, because I think a back three, we rip you to shreds.
All I say is we play back three, we play Greenwood, Rashford on the wings, and we play Cavani and Ronaldo up top. You're going to dead. That's all I'm saying.
Cavani's not playing tomorrow. Cavani's not playing tomorrow.
Never mind. Then I'll happily suffer. Or not. We play Sancho and we play Greenwood and Ronaldo up top. Still win.
But anyway, right. So you're thinking we should play a back three tomorrow. So what I'm actually going to do now in terms of this, so I'm going to go start 11 predictions. I'm going to go to you first, Reece. So since I'm going to flip it on you now, I'm going to put you on the spot since you labour between back three and back four. I'm going to put you on the spot now. Give me your starting 11 for tomorrow's game. And also, I'll get your score prediction actually off you later, but just give me your starting 11 for tomorrow.
Okay. I think personally we should go back three. So De Gea in goal, Wan-Bissaka, and I think is Tellez available? No? Is he available tomorrow?
Tellez will be I think so, yeah. Tellez will be available, I think, yeah.
If Tellez is available, I would do that. I would go Wan-Bissaka and Tellez as the wing backs, and then I would play Shaw left side centre back, Lindelof, and I play by. Hell no, I'm playing Jones. Then midfield, I would play McTominay and I'd play Pogba. I think that's probably your best bet tomorrow in that sort of in those positions. I think it'd be our best bet. Bruno just ahead, and then so that's that 3-2. Aye, and then I'd play from 3. I'd play Sancho, Rashford.
That's 12 players.
No, it's not this time, is it? No, it's back 3. Back 3. Never mind. So I just realised. Up top, I'd play Rashford and Ronaldo. I'd play Rashford
You won't
and
be able
Ronaldo.
to play 11 players, 12 players, mate. You know?
Aye. So there we go. Yeah, so De Gea, Wan-Bissaka. I've got it now. De Gea, Wan-Bissaka, Bailly, Lindelof, Shaw, Telles. So there's 6. There's your back 5 plus your goalkeeper. Pogba, McTominay, 2-man midfield, Bruno in the 10, and that would give you the 8, and then 2 above it, Rashford, Ronaldo.
I'm just letting Rach know right now that you pick 12 players and all the stick you give her for it.
I defend her. Let her come for me. I don't care. Let her do it. It's about time I get math wrong. Hell, I'm dyslexic. I'm entitled to get one wrong.
On that note, I'm going to go with my 11 just before we get the opposition 11. So I'm not going to go to back 3. I'm going to go back 4 tomorrow. I'm going to go with obviously David De Gea and goal. Fair play to me. He's rejuvenated himself this season. A lot of people doubted him last season, including me. I'm going to go Aaron Wan-Bissaka right back, Luke Shaw left back, Bailly, Lindelof at centre half. Going to go Matic in midfield with Paul Pogba. I think if we're talking about Wilfred and Didi being out, I think this is a game you can play Nemanja Matic in, because I think we'll have control of the ball tomorrow. We should do if we play that midfield of Matic and Pogba. I think we can take control. I'll go Bruno in front of the 2 of them. Obviously, that speaks for itself. The man's a machine. I'm going to go Jadon Sancho off the right. I'm going to go Marcus off the left. From what we've been hearing, he has played behind closed doors during his recovery. He has scored goals in these behind closed doors games. So on that, I think straight away, definitely start Marcus Rashford tomorrow if he's fit. And then I go, look, the man himself, Cristiano, up front. Again, look, he's just been remarkable since he's come here. And again, look, for me, I'm always going to, I suppose, mark out for the fact that Cristiano's come back to the club, because, like, look, he was my, I suppose, hero growing up watching Man United, like, Joe, at a young age, watching him and Rooney kind of tear it up. So seeing him come back has always kind of, I suppose, been a dream. And it's great to see him come back to the football club and also contribute as well since he's come back. But yeah, look, that's my 11. I did not go out on a limb and pick 12. Like Reece did. Because Rach gets awful stick for it on this channel, so I'm here to back her up today.
I'm the one that defends her. That's the funny thing.
You've gone in there in the comments. You've slagged her in the comments.
Once.
But Brad, come to the opposition. Obviously, you've said you had a couple of injuries yourself. Obviously, Ndidi being obviously probably the most key one. What do you expect to see tomorrow from Leicester?
Probably the same formation that we played against Palace. It was probably something we demanded. It was something that I predicted going into the game. Because what I do now is I've got a little tactical whiteboard. So I've become like the Sky Sports of YouTube over here. I think we'll go
show us your team on the whiteboard. Let's do it. Show us your team.
So here we go. If you can see that, they've got the initials next to them. We've got Casper. Come on. Can you see the initials?
Yeah. Perfect.
There we go.
So we've got Casper in goal. It'll be Johnny Evans or Vestergaard at the back, depending on his fitness. Kagla Soyuncu will obviously go in there. I actually go with Ryan Bertrand as my left back. I know Luke Thomas had a great game against you guys last time, got his first Premier League goal with, unfortunately, not goal of the season, but I think it should have been. Timothy Castagne will hold the right back role for us. Yuri Tillemans has impressed me more than James Maddison. With the injury to Ndidi, I've gone with Samore in the middle. I really, really like Ademola Lookman, who's our right winger at the moment. Plus, if anyone watches me on the channel on Leicester Third Eye TV, they'll know my disdain for Ayuso Perez. Yeah, Harvey Barnes on the left, and obviously the big dogs of Senor Man in Kelechi Iheanacho and Jamie Vardy up front. But the only thing I would change is if Iheanacho is rumoured to be injured or carrying a niggle, it would have to become a 5 system, and that would be James Maddison filling that role there.
And we match basically at that point.
If we get the 2 up front, that's why I think we'll go through your
Classic 4-4-2 then.
It sounds like it's a typical Mike Bassett 4-4-2, but it's the way to operate with how we spread the ball and how patient we are, because I just see it there. We have more security in holding the midfield, and you can allow one to push up while one sits back. Mm-hmm. When we played a 3 in the middle of the park, I felt they were too close together, almost getting in each other's way to a point, not knowing, do I peel off now or do I go straight? At least then you know that Harvey Barnes can cut in and has proven he can score by cutting in. Lootman likes to cut in, and they can hook the touchline if needed. So rolling in lines of 4 essentially, but that needs to work. But yeah, just thought I'd show that off. That's what I've been doing while you guys have been talking. So
I think it'll be decent. I think it's decent.
You know what, Reece? You're gonna have to investigate. You're gonna have to investigate. You're gonna have to invest in one of them for your when you're hosting the London Lowdown. That's happening now. I know we're you're going to have to invest in one of these, and you're going to have to write down your notes on a nice whiteboard, especially when the lads are picking teams, and you're going to have to display it on the screen. I'm giving you that job now.
So I have to hit Asda tomorrow then?
Yeah, you do. Absolutely.
Oh, fuck.
But I'm not going to come to quote you and Brad.
You're welcome, Reece. You're welcome, mate.
See, that's the problem. See when you look like the guy out of what's it called? What's the film? The sidekick out of Hot Fuzz. That's it. That's you now. It's all because of you.
Yeah, 100%. But Reece, I'm going to come to you and Brad just on this final point before we get to our score predictions.
Yes,
obviously, a man who was, I suppose, on and off the pitch a class act. Marcus Rashford. He's making his long-awaited return from injury. First time he's going to be injury-free in almost 2.5, 3 years. Finally making his return this weekend against Leicester. What are your thoughts, Reece, just first of all, on Rashford's return and especially in this big run of games coming? And do you think, because he's such a big game player for United, that he's going to be kind of our go-to man in these next couple of weeks?
Well, I know Brad will get all excited about him in a different way, so we'll ignore that. But because he absolutely wants him at Leicester. I think it's great for us in the sense that we have been missing somebody on the left-hand side. We've had to play Pogba in there when necessarily we shouldn't have to. And he's done adequately well out there. I'm not going to take that away from him, but we do need a natural winger in a winger position so we can get Pogba back into the midfield. I don't know if we should rush, even though he's just coming back, I don't want us to absolutely rush him and play him for like 90 minutes against Leicester, but I wouldn't mind him saying like playing 60, 70 minutes. I think that's enough to build him out. I think just gradually bring him back in. I think it'd be great. The fact that he's injury-free finally will be good in terms of like seeing what more he adds to the team. We already know he can add goals and assists and big game player that he is for us, but it depends on what he will do now. We don't know what he's going to be like. I mean, I think it's a great thought to have in terms of what exactly is he going to bring us. Like, what is he going to do against Leicester? Is he going to be the man that hugs the touchline and then comes out of defences, or is he going to play slightly narrower and then comes inside as he does? It'd be great to see what we do with him. I don't know what he's going to be like tomorrow if he starts or if he comes off the bench. But in terms of the big games that are coming up, we do need that extra big game player, especially from that left-hand side. So it is definitely a massive boost overall.
Definitely. I think for me, like that partnership he had with Luke Shaw last season really helped us gain a lot of results. So if we can get, like, if with Rashford coming back, or for me, I'm hoping that boosts Luke Shaw as well to have that natural partner on that left-hand side and kind of boost his confidence as well, because he's kind of had a dent in confidence in the last couple of weeks. Brad, obviously, just off the pitch as well, like recently during this international break, he's obviously received an award and obviously being the youngest person to get a degree, doctor's degree out kind of the university in Manchester. Like, do you think he's like the perfect like ambassador for what professional footballers should be doing, kind of using their influence off the pitch.
Oh, 100%. 100%. It's almost sad that it's taken someone of his age to kind of go, hold on, am I the only one that's thinking these and doing these ideas? Shouldn't everybody else be doing this? And it's great to see. All the credit to him for doing what he's been doing. He's an absolute advocate. You know, if you know when we was all growing up, probably we had posters of the likes of Gianfranco Zola and Bergkamp and Cole and whatnot. They were the players we idolised. But if you're a young kid in today's generation and you want to model yourself on someone, not just for how they play the game, but what they are like as a person, then Rashford's just the way to go. He's doing something that's so frustratingly basic, but because he's the only one that's doing it, he's rightfully getting all the commendabilities for it, and so he should. The fact that there's a 20-odd-year-old footballer that could probably run the country better than who's in charge tells you a lot about the state of the game and the state of our country on a whole. So yeah, I think if you're wanting to base yourself as a football club, if you're starting a football club, even if you're just a Sunday league club, if you can just keep that mantra of just being a decent human being, then the whole sport in general gets a better atmosphere. You know, if you know someone who's a club that's struggling and your club is in a better financial situation or something like that, help each other out in these situations. I know people might just say, oh, well, it's easier said than done, but it is just as easy for these players. If Rashford's on the money he's on, you might argue, doing what he's doing and making these stands up, you don't need the money to make the stands. You just need to unite and follow in that sense. And look, he's just a great asset to not just footballing world, but to the United Kingdom for what he's doing. There's a lot of people who probably don't want to darken the cast at all, but there's probably a lot of people that wouldn't be here today or would be on the brink mentally had he not forced the government's hand in certain changes. So yeah, I you know, no matter what you think of Manchester United, I don't even care if you're a Man City fan. If you're that much of a sour idiot that you can't look past the fact that he plays for Manchester United, forgetting how many players of yours have played for both clubs, then there's something wrong with you, because what he's doing for the world of football, and like I said, outside of the world of football, is something everybody should aspire to do in their time, in their short careers as a footballer.
Definitely, and I think it's definitely an example on how players can use their influence in a positive way. And it's not just like a lot of people, you see social media, a lot of people say Rashford's doing it for the PR. If you're doing something for PR, you make like one charitable donation and you plaster all over social media and that's it. You don't make the Tory government change a whole campaign and fund like what 200 to 400 million on a whole new campaign. You know, like that's not a PR stunt. That's commitment. You know, like you're not sitting on the Zoom calls with Barack Obama for no reason. That's not a PR stunt.
And it's never happened before.
You know, like that's the thing. So like, look, fair play to him. Look, a lot of the younger footballers, not just coming up our football club, not just coming out of Leicester, like Brad hit the nail on the head with it. They all need to put use their influence in a way like Rashford is. And look, I think this pandemic's really kind of made football, not just Rashford, but there's a lot more footballers. Jordan Henderson has done a lot of great things as well. You know, like there's a lot of like big name Premier League footballers who have done things like this, and this pandemic has really kind of shown the other side of these footballers' personalities, you know, in terms of that. So absolutely, look, I'm all for it, and look, hopefully more players can follow suit, because look, it helps the kids growing up in the game, like, you know, and just makes it overall, gives the game a better taste. You know, it's not just going out and playing at Old Trafford at 3 o'clock on a Saturday. It goes beyond that, you know, like it does. So look, absolutely delighted that he's one of our own, obviously, but like just on a wider scale, it's great to see what he's done, you know, just in that regard. Well, we're just going to wrap it up there. Just before we go, though, I'm going to get the guys' score predictions for tomorrow's game. I'm not going to do a show and not get the score predictions, of course. Reece, give me your score prediction for tomorrow's game.
3-2 Man United, Rashford double.
3-2 United, Rashford double. My bum will be flapping. My bum will be flapping if that's the score tomorrow. Brad, give me your score prediction.
Leicester 2, Manchester United 2, and I think Edison Cavani grabs Man U a late equaliser. If he's fair, if not 2-1 Leicester. I don't know your situation with Cavani. State of our defence.
Cavani can't play because the quarantine rule or something, like because he's not going to be back in time.
2-1 Leicester then. 2-1 Leicester. Go on then. I was actually genuinely surprised with the state of our defence that he wasn't mentioned on the show, so I did feel it was a bit strange that you didn't bring up Cavani as a possible option. That's obviously why. Shows I should pay more attention, but I'll go with 2-1 Leicester then.
Don't worry, Brad. Trust us, you're not the one to end our unbeaten run. You're not the one.
Yeah.
Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it.
Don't worry, Leicester won't do it. It won't be Leicester.
Don't say it. I know who you're thinking. Just don't say it.
No,
so
you don't know who I'm thinking.
I did a prediction show on our channel that I on Chris's channel, and I've been absolutely slated for my prediction because we do all the fixtures, right? And I said that Norwich are going to be Brighton.
Oh, you.
And I know, right? But I said it in the sense that Derby even managed to win, and it'd just be sod's law that everybody backs Norwich to lose, and Derby win. So I will clip this like I will clip them calling me daft, crazy, and bonkers. In that, when Norwich win and Leicester beat Manchester United, I'll ask Keane just to clip that part where Reece said it won't happen for me, just so we can just remind him of that every time. So don't worry about it, Reece.
As much as at my expense, Reece, but as much as at my expense to see us lose, that's bad. But the fact that Reece would be at a loss, okay.
Yeah, and remember, Reece wants you to do it with 12 men, so, you know.
Yeah. But Brad's gone 2-1. Reece has gone 3-2. I'm going to go with probably a scoreline not many people are going to go with. I'm going to go with a conservative 1-0 win for Man United tomorrow. I don't think that it's madness. I'm thinking we're going to keep a clean sheet, but maybe this is the day. Maybe I'm just more hopeful. But I'm going to go 1-0 United. I'm going to go Cristiano Ronaldo getting a goal late on the second half and to win us the game 1-0.
Okay, who are you and what have you done with Keane?
So I'm going to go 1-0 United. I said the same on the Talking Devils podcast just there like an hour ago. I said 1-0 United. I'm going to stick to it. I'm going to go Ronaldo to get the only goal of the game and proving why, again, that age is just a number. Vardy's doing it. Ronaldo's doing it. Age is literally just a number in this game, you know. So, yeah, there are predictions. So that is the end of the show here today, guys. Thanks very much to everyone for tuning in to today's show. Don't forget to smash like in the video. Hit that subscribe button. We will be back next week with our Manchester United versus Liverpool preview. That's the big one. We all know how these shows always go down with the debates. So do check that out. I will have Liverpool and United fans. It'll be a full panel. Do not miss that show. It's going to be fiery. But until then, guys, thanks very much, everyone, for watching. Do catch Reece on the London Lowdown podcast. Catch Brad over on Leicester Till TV. Do check it out. Great Leicester football channel over there. And as always, hit that subscribe button for weekly armchair sports talk. Not sports content coming in the future. Thanks very much, everyone. And